No, no, not at all.
Oh, and you know about this? You know about my book?
I'm going to promote the book, of course.
Oh, please.
It looks like this broadcast was deleted on Facebook.
Oh, it shouldn't have been.
Create a new broadcast. We might have to create a new broadcast for you on Facebook. Hold on.
I am on Facebook.
Well, yeah.
Everything.
I don't know what happened. Maybe because I didn't go. All right. So.
Oh, now I'm in the middle. Where are you there? You're in the show, it says. This is an interesting thing.
All right. So technical difficulties. We got someone's watching, so we're going to just pretend that our connection worked. Hi, it's Mark Yaffe, episode 17 of the How Does That Happen podcast, a podcast about unusual record holders, should be record holders, want to be record holders, and I'm pretty sure our guest today qualifies for all of the above. This lady, comedian, writer, force of nature, good friend all the way from England joining us today. Please welcome Lynn Ruth Miller.
Hello, and thank you very much. That's wonderful. Let me get over here where I'm in the center. Hello. Yeah. Talk to me.
You are nice and centered in the south of England. Is that where you're at?
No, I used to be in Brighton, but I moved to London because London is the epicenter for comedy. But I do a lot more than comedy, Mark. I do cabaret and I do burlesque. And I always get standing ovations in burlesque. Mm-hmm. And the reason I get standing ovations is because I'm so short that nobody can see if I'm on stage. So as soon as they stand up to look and see, as soon as they all stand up to look and see if anyone's on stage, I say, thank you very much. And I get off the stage. So that's what I do. So that's what I do. And I write books.
I know you just came up with a new book. We're going to be talking about that, a autobiography, unless you had a ghostwriter. I'm guessing you did it yourself, though. You're not one to rely on others. That's what I love about you. This lady is a self-contained, one woman, like I said, force of nature. We go back to about the early 2000s, right?
When was it? 2005, 2006?
You were about a year in comedy then, because I think you're 16 now. I'm year 21. I'm 17. I was in 5th grade when you were in kindergarten. That's pretty much so, we can introduce you to the 7.5 listeners that have tuned in on Facebook, YouTube, and Reno Public Access. Instead of me reading off a bio, which you have plenty of credits, just if you could give the listeners, viewers, a capsulated bio of Lynn Ruth Miller's bio of Lynn Ruth Miller. So just give them a little snippet.
Oh my God. What do I say? I'm from Toledo, Ohio, and look what happened. I'm a comedian. I started stand up when I was 70. I'm a comedian. I'm an artist.
Hold on, let me interrupt you. You guys all heard that 70, not 17.
70. I'm trying to think when I met Mark. When did I meet you? Was it?
Yeah, we'll call that. Yeah.
And I do stand-up comedy, and I'm a journalist, and I write books, lots of books. And I moved to London when I was 80. I celebrated my 81st birthday in London, so that was 2014. And I expanded to cabaret and burlesque. In my middle 70s, I think I did that. And Mark was the first person to think that I had talent. And when he was creating a show, that was in the Lake County, and he invited me to be in the show. And nobody was inviting me to do anything because they thought, oh, a 70-year-old woman, she's not funny. And
where did we do that stand-up show at? Was that up in Lake County?
It was in Lake County somewhere.
So you had to the farm and see the dogs and all that? Did you make that?
And then I ended up having dogs. I got Teddy and Louise, and yeah. And the reason that we bonded was because you said, my wife loves dogs, and I gave you my book, Thoughts While Walking the Dog. That's
Yes.
how it all began. But,
So,
but
at the time you lived in Pacifica, California, for those who don't know, a little south of San Francisco, and no dogs at the time, just painting.
when you met me, I had 4 dogs. I always had 4
So you were doing rescue, weren't you?
No, I didn't rescue. They came to my door.
Well, same thing. Yeah.
I just took them in. Yeah. And because of and then I met your wife and I got 2 Pomeranians. That was Teddy and Louise.
Well, you should have got 2 females. It could have been Thelma and Louise, but that's a whole different topic.
No, Thelma and Louise would have been different. No, Louise was the smartest dog I've ever had. Louise, I would come into the house and Louise would say, "Stop bothering me. I'm reading the encyclopedia." She was really a smart dog. Teddy was so stupid, but that's men.
Well, we can't apologize for that. So, okay. So back to your origin comedy story, which obviously there's so much more leading up to it, but you were at age 70, you were an investigative journalist.
That's right. And I wanted to write a story about the comedy college. There's a San Francisco comedy college. But the thing, Mark, that I didn't understand until now is at that time, because I had no television, and because remember, I had two TV shows on public access television. So I was interviewing people, but I had no television set, and I had no idea what was happening to entertainment. When I saw San Francisco Comedy College, I did not know that comedy was a career. See, you knew it, you were doing it. I didn't know it was a career. So I thought of all the ridiculous things, taking money from young people to tell them they can do stand-up comedy. That's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of. There's no such thing.
So you were out to bust the pipe dream scam.
Right. I was out to destroy Curtis Matthews. And instead, that's the principal of the school. I have plastered his name all over the world because I graduated from that college, that San Francisco Comedy College. And I think I'm one of his biggest success stories.
At what point? Okay, so you sign up for the class, you show up, you just blend in. How long did it take you to realize, A, it's not a scam, and B, I love this and I want to do it?
I didn't really realize it. When I first was there, what I thought was, I'm 70 years old. What else am I going to do at night? And I'll go do this class. And there were a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds that were just adorable. They were just adorable people. So I was having a good time once a week listening to them. But to me, I thought, well, they're really not very funny. And then so I took 16 weeks of it. And then the final was at Cobb's comedy thing.
Oh, yeah, legendary comedy club. Sure.
Yeah. And because it's not that I was so good, it's that the others were so bad that when I got up there, God, they were awful. So when I got up there, I just ripped the place apart. And I have not had a very successful life. And this was success. And I had done nothing. I was just telling them about mammograms. That's all I was doing. I was saying, the way to get ready for a mammogram is to lie down in the garage and have your partner back the car over you. And then from there. And just true stuff, stuff. And some kid came up to me after it was over and asked me to sign his ticket. And I thought, I'm the one that failed all the time, which is another interesting thing, because I was not that successful in San Francisco, but I knew, just like I knew this was what I was supposed to do.
Okay, let's stop there. Aside from comedy, I know part of your origin story is, well, I really hadn't had much success in life till stand-up came along.
That's right.
Now let's back up though. You make it out of Toledo, Ohio. You move to the Bay Area. You have an adult life. You accumulate some wealth and success. Obviously, you don't just walk into a house in Pacifica. So
no.
Right, yeah.
I was the thing. No, I had 2 marriages. I married when I was 22, and then again when that lasted 2 years, and then 28 for 3 months. That one lasted 3 months, and I went and got a master's degree at Stanford University.
And master's in what field?
Journalism. And then I had been a teacher.
I know this. I feel like I'm not a very good friend. How do I not remember this?
Well, because I never told you that. All I cared about was that you liked my comedy and I liked you. That's I was a teacher before. I was a university teacher. I was a professor.
Where did you teach at?
At Toledo University.
Oh, you went back home to teach.
After Stanford, because I had 2 master's degrees by that time. I had a master's degree in education. First, I married twice, and then that failed. And then I decided, life isn't working for me.
Got the men out of the way. So you got all that man nonsense out of the way. Figured, okay, I'm done with these knuckleheads.
Yeah, it's not working for me. And that was really sad. It's not working for me. And I think it could have if I wouldn't have been so afraid, but I was really afraid. And so I thought, well, okay, I'm not going to be like the usual Jewish princess that has somebody support her for the rest of their lives. I'm going to have to support myself. And so I applied to Stanford and I got in. I was 30 and I got a master's in journalism. But then when I got out in 1964, because 1963 was when I was there, when Kennedy was assassinated. In 1964, newspapers or anyone, they were not hiring 30-year-old women for anything.
Super male-centric.
That's right.
Yeah.
Only the most menial jobs, because they figured, now she's going to get married and have children. And I thought, Buster, I already did that twice. I'm not doing it anymore. Anyway, so I couldn't get a job. And I kept doing freelance writing and couldn't get a job. And I came back to Toledo, which I did not want to do. And I still had to support myself. And I lived in poverty housing, 1232 crib. I lived in poverty housing because I had no money anymore. I used it all for Stanford and I had no money. And I got a job. I walked into Toledo University Community and Technical College, not the real university. And because I didn't have a PhD, I just had master's degrees. And I remember the dean met me and I said, I'm looking for a job. He said, we always need teachers at the Community and Technical College. And I became a professor there for 6 years.
Wow.
And then I fell apart because none of the dreams that I really wanted was coming true. And I didn't want to be a professor. I wanted to
be in the field, be an actual journalist.
Yeah, that's what I was going to be. The New York Times. I figured, listen, Stanford University, you can't get better than that. And I was top of the class. I'm going to do it. And I never, it didn't happen.
Wow.
Which is why the funny story, when I saw this San Francisco Comedy College, I thought, this is my chance. I'm going to expose them and I'm going to get that lousy job at the New York Times.
Right, winning. Yeah.
Yeah, but instead, what I did is I found a career. It was the most exciting thing. And someone said to me, because I've always loved all my jobs. I've loved all my jobs. And someone said to me, well, why have you stuck to comedy for 17 years? I said, because comedy isn't a job. Comedy's what I do. Comedy's who I am. There's no way I could not.
Yes. Well, you must have known you had a sense of humor. I'm sure when you were teaching classes and such, you were infusing it with some insight.
I think when you've had a very difficult life, which you can read about here, you can read about my difficult life.
By Lynn Ruth Miller.
Getting the last laugh. It's important that you say getting. When you've had a difficult life, there are 2 ways that you can greet it and deal with it. You can either go under and be a victim, or you can say no. Do you know that Latin saying? It's in Latin, but it's don't let the bastards grind you down. It's in Latin. And that's the way I was. I was saying, no, I'm not gonna let that happen. I'm gonna find a way to support myself. I'm gonna find a way to make a life. And the gods weren't with me, because the Bay Area is very sexist, it's very racist, it's very judgmental, and they're looking at a 70-year-old woman.
Sure, yeah.
It was trying to, because also the other thing is, I believed I was good, and that was where you came in, because when I met Mark immediately affirmed my comedy. And you right away, you said, you're good. You know what you're doing. Mark was headlining and I was featuring, right? That when we met.
Oh, yes.
And that's what happened. But I didn't have anybody that did that to me. I didn't have anyone that said you're great, except for Tony Sparks.
And Tony, he's a longtime Bay Area fixture, so he's seen so many people. So, aside from me, I'm living up on the mountains with my ex-wife and a bunch of dogs. So I wasn't really in the thick of comedy. I was more of an outlier. But when you see someone like Tony, who's been in that San Francisco scene from its inception, when they had the Holy City Zoo and the early Robin Williams and early Dana Carvey,
he was,
that would be very validating.
And he thought I was wonderful. He came up to me, and he and you were just about the only encouragement I had for the first 10 years. But then
you had to know when you got on that comedy college graduation and you got the validation to get that crowd on your side and then to get an autograph request. That's huge.
Yeah, I know. Except that nobody was asking me to do comedy. I did comedy for nothing. No, and I still couldn't get in the open mics. They didn't want it.
The laundromat thing?
Yeah, I did the brainwash. But do you remember Susan Alexander?
Yes.
Susan Alexander ran, and it was 50 Mason, and it was in the Tenderloin. And I remember people said to me, you can't drive down to the Tenderloin. That's a terrible place. And I thought, I've lived alone since I was 25, except for that 3-month nightmare. And I had dragged myself from Toledo, Ohio to Oklahoma City, all around Southwest United States, and then back to Redwood City. I can go to the Tenderloin. I can cope. And so I used to
going to the Tenderloin. Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, people have to know how awful it is down there. But you just step over the drunks and you just step over.
You hope you don't park on top of a poor homeless guy on the side of the road.
That's right. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. So Susan used to book me at 50 Mason, and then I started my own show, but I don't think I knew you then, or you were too far up in the ladder.
I remember I'd heard about you and that you were doing your own show because like I said, we met, and then I went and saw you at San Francisco Comedy Competition. Remember in Marin Performing Arts Center?
Yes. Yeah. John Fox's thing.
Yes. So that's another honor. You got selected to San Francisco International Comedy Competition. I mean, hundreds of people.
I didn't get to the next segment, and that was because judges, the audience would go crazy, but the judges would not give me points because they couldn't believe that I could last more than. There was a very funny story that they didn't think I could last more than 5 minutes. So there was a guy named Tony who used to schedule us. And he came. I was always at the end of each show. You'd see the points. I was always at the bottom, and I never could understand because the audience was screaming with laughter, and I was at the bottom. So Tony came up to me, and this was when I think we were in some casino or something. And he came up to me. He said, "I just love scheduling you, Lynn Ruth, because wherever I put you, the beginning, the middle, the end, you always get laughs." And I said, "Well, I don't know who I'm getting laughs from because I'm at the zero. Why aren't those people?" Yeah. And so the people that won, I don't know what happened to them, but I know that I'm doing better. I'm doing better because they're not big names, and I'm not a big name, but I'm bigger.
Enough. Yes. You make a living at this. Yes. For people that don't know or just got in late, you're successful on both sides of the Atlantic. You've had successful shows here. Now you live in London, and the British comedy scene is you tackled that, and you've toured internationally. Am I right?
Yes. Oh, yes. Vietnam, Cambodia, Manila, Bangkok, Dublin is a regular. I'm a regular in Dublin at the Laughter Lounge in the International.
I heard the Late Show in Hanoi is a little tough crowd. Is that true?
Irish? Oh God, no.
Late Show in Hanoi, Vietnam, are a little tough. That Late Show. So, what's your favorite country to perform in?
Say it again.
When you're touring internationally, what's your favorite country to perform in?
Oh, I love them all. They're beautiful audiences because they're all expats, and they don't get really good comedy, and they are beautiful audiences. And when I first went, like when I went to Hanoi, Gina, oh God, what's her last name? Gina Yashiri was the headliner, and I was the feature. And Dan heard me, and then he booked me again. And you know these wonderful stories. The headliner got sick, and I headlined, there all the time now.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, how that happens in comedy, though. People realize, like, you went and took that class, not expecting to do comedy. You become
I didn't know it was a career.
Someone gets sick, now you're bumped up to headliner. But there's so much serendipity and you know, and it's hit and miss too. I mean, there's probably the opportunities other people have had you haven't had, that if you had gotten them, you know, you could be a household name by now. We don't know.
Oh, that's definitely. I am not in the big clubs in London. I don't want anyone to think I am. The Comedy Store, and I think there are a couple other big ones. They don't.
Do you play jongleurs? That's the only one I know in England. Is
no, they're terrible. But no, I don't. I do, and I'm booked for the bigger clubs in the bottom rung. In other words, I'm the 10-minute feature. I'm not the 15-minute, I'm the 10-minute. But there are clubs here like Angel Comedy, Top Secret, and other bookers like David Lewis and Hazel Humphreys and Paul Merrick. They make me headline. I'm it.
You have your niche. Yes.
Yes. And you have to travel. And that's the advantage of London. London is central. I can get anywhere in the UK, and the UK is little. I can get anywhere in the UK for London.
About the size of California or smaller than that?
I think it's a little smaller.
Wow. And it's like 60 million people.
Well, we're crowded in. We live up.
So that means more gigs, more opportunity.
Yeah. Yes. And they love comedy here. And I think that the reason they love comedy, and you know, they can't get through a comedy club without drinking themselves under the table. When the lockdown happened, this man that I'm a friend with, he had a wine store. He sold wine. It was just going along. When the lockdown happened, he sold out every day. Wow. Because the British people like alcohol and they drink. And I mean, they consider that you're not drinking when you've only had one bottle of wine. That's not drinking. That's just what you do. And
with the high alcohol consumption, are the crowds still pretty polite, or do they get super rowdy? 2 bottles.
Well, I have never had a heckler, but I believe I've never had a heckler for 2 reasons. One is the British are very respectful. They will not heckle an old lady. And 2 is I'm partially deaf. So
you are getting heckled, you just don't know it?
No, I've heard a murmur, but I have not heard what they say. And also, because of the way the British think of older people, no matter what someone says to me, I say, yes, darling, and then just keep going on. And because I don't hear well, I don't hear what they said anyway. So yeah. I can honestly say I've never been heckled. Or let me put it another way. I've never heard a heckle. I've never heard it, but it could have happened. They're an easier audience than an American audience. It could be that I'm better now than I was when I was in America.
I'm guessing that's a good part of it. You know, if you've been in 15, 16 years.
17 years now.
17. Yeah. I mean, versus 17 months, of course. You know, when you started here, you were just an infant in comedy. So that's the
right. But it is different because when I went back home, and by the way, I headline now. There's a place in Santa Rosa. I just love the guy. He headlines me, and I sell out at the Marsh Theater.
Wow.
Yes. You are not from the Bay Area. You don't realize I just said something absolutely wonderful. I sell out at the Marsh Theater. That's just gorgeous. She wouldn't even let me in when I was living there.
Talk about sweet revenge, and it's a positive revenge. It's affirming for you, entertaining for the audience, and validating. Yeah.
It's absolutely validate who I am. And I think also that people have to realize it takes years of living to become who you are. And if you believe, and you must believe it, people think when they're 60, it's over. From the time I was 60, that was when I was writing novels. I wrote 11 novels, 60 to 70. From the time I was 60, which was when I finally really figured out who I am, what I really want, and what I can do. Well, I didn't know what I could do.
Was there an aha moment, or was it just an evolution?
An evolution. It just, life seemed to be better. When you met me, I was a fairly happy lady. I was a happy lady. I was miserable up until then. Up until 40, I was miserable. I was unhappy. But anyhow, so now 60, I'm writing novels, and I get one published, and it was a bestseller. That's Starving Hearts. And then 70, comedy. And it just kept going and going and going.
Now, there was also some art in between there too. You did.
Well, you can see it in my house. That's a mobile that's hanging up there. Yeah, I always did art. And that's because I taught the humanities in college. And when I taught the humanities, I thought, well, I know humanities are art, literature, and music. And I thought, well, I know how to play the piano. I know how to write. I have a master's degree in journalism. But I didn't know how to make a painting. So I went to Ireland. And I studied painting for 4 months. I did that, yeah. And this is the result. You can see it in my house. It's all over. And so
I love that mobile in the back there.
Oh, you should see. I've got another one in the bedroom with a teddy bear hanging on. Yeah.
I'm gonna come visit when the COVID's over.
Oh, you've got to. And there's a guest room in my building, except I'm planning to leave this building. But if I'm still here, you've got a guest room here.
So they actually, the apartment complex makes a guest room available, and then you just sign up.
No, I'm in what do they call it? I always forget the British word for it, but it's independent living for old people.
Yeah.
But I'm getting out because my darling friend said to me, you shouldn't be around old people. You're not old. And I'm a good 17 years older than most of the people in this building.
What's your next residential journey? Where you headed to?
Well, I don't know, but I want it to be a ground floor apartment where I can have a dog.
All right.
Me without a dog, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, let me know. May I bring a Pomeranian with me? Housewarming gift.
I would love it. Oh my God, I would love it. Will Lindsay give you a Pomeranian?
Well, I don't know. We could try to make something happen. So for those you know, my ex-wife she has
but you can come and see Paul.
Shih Tzus now. So have you looked into Shih Tzus? So those are her new.
Oh, I love them too. That's her new thing.
Yeah.
She had, when I went to that house of yours, those great, they were like St. Bernards. They were great big dogs. What were they?
When you were there, we had like 14 dogs. There was like 6 big dogs, like 8 little.
Oh, you should have seen how big they were. And I've got these little dogs that I'm going in there. And I mean, the one little poodle looked up to me and he said, Mommy, I'm really afraid. That's really a big dog there. Yeah. But the
big dogs are more afraid of the little dogs, to be honest.
It's true. It's true because the little dogs don't give it. The Teddy that Lindsay gave me, Teddy, attacked a Dalmatian. We're walking down the street. This dog, this big, and he attacked a Dalmatian. And I was being funny. And I said to the owner, Did he hurt him? She said, yes. She said, yes, he broke the skin. I said, and my little warrior, this big, I miss him. He's just wonderful. Yeah. Then
are the British as crazy about dogs as Americans are?
Oh, worse.
Oh
my God, worse. I do a whole comedy set about how anthropomorphic they are. But the point is that you would be able to see Paul. Shall we tell them who Paul is?
Sure. Go ahead.
Paul is a drag, but they don't call them trannies anymore. You're not allowed to call them trannies.
One's under Tiffany Wells. Is that
Tiffany
right?
Wells. And he's the kind of success that you and I are. He has his own cult following. You don't read about him in the papers, but he's absolutely wonderful. And for those of you who understand about being Jewish, he pulls out his falsies and puts it on his head like a yarmulke. He's out of this world. He's wonderful. And you know that we were in a movie together?
Really? What was that? What's the name of the movie?
I didn't know it because they were filming us separately, but Paul and I were in a movie. It's called Spiderlings.
Nice.
And we're both in that movie. And I didn't know it because I was the fairy godmother. I'm not sure what Paul was, but he was he was in the movie. So when we went to the big screening, there he was. I haven't seen him, and I don't know what's going on with him, but I know that he has a very solid following. And I also, have you seen him perform?
I think I just seen him on video. I don't think I've seen
Oh
him.
no, he's wonderful.
And he has a lot of comedy in his act too, along with the singing. He's like slinging jokes, and
it's just what he does. Cabaret is a gentler kind of comedy. You can get away with much more. When the two of us get up and do stand-up comedy, if we don't want to laugh after a setup, we're in trouble. But cabaret, you can have a laugh sort of after a while, and they still love it because they're getting music, they're getting the costuming, they love it, and it's much easier comedy.
So is that your preference now, to do a cabaret show and be with a variety of?
No, I like them both, but the thing with the cabaret is I now have, I think, 9 of them. I like it because it's about my life, and so it's very real stories. We see things on stage and we think, yeah, they're just talking, but when I do those cabarets, it's about my life. I talk about my husband's. I've got one called I Love Men. I've got one called Not Dead Yet, which talks about my mother and talks about how I almost died. I've got one called Approaching 80, which is now called 87, which is about what it feels like to be old. I've got one about fear and I find this very apropos. This pandemic has created the most terrible amount of fear. People are afraid. And it's awful that they're afraid. It's awful that we're afraid of each other. We're afraid to get near a stranger. We're afraid. Yeah. And I did this thing called Get a Grip, which is about how you can't, if you're afraid, you'll never do anything. But this has been, and in America, I think it's been even worse than here, hasn't it? What kind of restrictions are you having now?
Well, it varies from state to state. Nevada, we're at like I'm gonna say level 2 lockdown each state, because they're basically left it up to the 50 states. So we have like 25% capacity on dining. We're supposed to stay at home, but people are still out shopping and all. But then you go over to California, pretty much all locked down except for stores and essential businesses, and takeout only. No in-restaurant dining.
We don't have restaurant dining either. We don't have restaurant dining.
How's your cooking?
I'm cooking.
How's your cooking?
I'm getting really good. I'm starting to make Indian food. I made chicken tikka last night.
I love it. A Jewish American in London making Indian food.
Indian food. Yeah, but for Christmas, I made latkes.
Really? Okay.
Latkes, potato pancakes, for those of you who don't know. Yeah. And turkey and Yorkshire pudding and potato pancakes. I wanted to give it a Jewish touch. Yeah, I'm having a good time. It is easier in London to get into the middle section. I'd say the performers are beginners, the middle section where you make money, but you're not in the headlines, and the big names. Mm-hmm. It's much easier to get into that middle section in Britain, partially because it's a smaller country, and partially because they're very open-minded. There's a wide swath of the kinds of comedy that they do here.
They don't have 8,000 aspiring comedians per square mile like the United
States.
Oh
yeah, they do. They do. But I don't know how to explain it. It's easier. People are making money at this that in America they'd never get anywhere.
Well, how about now with the pandemic? Are you doing Zoom shows?
I'm doing Zoom shows. Oh. And I'm getting paid, but not as much as when I was doing the real shows. But I am getting paid. I just did one. Oh, and I've got one, I think, it's January 4th, and I've got another one coming up, I think tomorrow or the next. No, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. It's January 4th, and then the Sunday before. I've got them, and then I do Facebook Live shows.
Good.
And those are the last Sunday of every month. and I do comedy stories because, you know, when I met you, I was also doing storytelling.
Mhm.
I was doing that as well. But the thing that's important is that I've always been doing something. I haven't always been successful at it, but I've always been doing something. And
That
you do the
is
same
the
thing.
most important part. You've kept that consistency of creating, whether it's novels, paintings, jokes, and I think that's, you know, that's seen you through. A lot of us, once that flare of creativity dies for some people, really we're creative beings naturally. Whether you're an artist or a woodworker or a, you know, or a crochet, it's as human beings. I think it's in our DNA to create, and we got to find.
You think that? I think that also. I think that it's our. We need to do it. We need to have. We need to have. I'm stopping it.
There. Oh yeah, you see, look, your phone's blowing up.
No, it's my next door neighbor. I don't know what the hell she wants, but I'll find out later. It's and also I should shut off. Oh God, I should shut off the phone so that it doesn't do that. There, we've got it shut off now.
So,
But it's there's creativity, but there's also, it's not enough to create. It's like a blog is lovely, but if you've got to create something that you work on, that you edit, that you refine, and that's what my cabaret is. That's what my books are. That's what my performance is. I've worked on it. It's one thing to sit here with you and just chat. I love it. But the real art is when I work on something and I create it. And that's what you've been doing too. You've never stopped. Not since I've known you. You've never stopped. And
I've had lazy spells, but yeah,
we all have that.
Yeah. Do you try to write every day or do something creative every day?
Well, people say that to me. No, I don't write every day. I paint every day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, because that isn't how I do comedy. I do stories of my life, and then I sit and exaggerate, and then I lie, and then I lie, and then I cut out a
lady who's going to question you.
Oh, nobody. But I mean, and then I sort of exaggerate, and then and then I've got my comedy, and most of the comedy I do. I used to do comedy that had nothing to do with who I was. I mean, it did in that I talked about being old, but it had nothing to do with who I really was. And then a guy named John Gordillo, who's also a very good comedian, said to me, well, you don't talk about who you are. And in Britain, it's much more about who they are than it is about cracking jokes, making a funny remark. And so I've started doing that. So I do a thing like what it feels like to be 87, which is ridiculous. But
I'm guessing that's taking you to a next level, because people love people that are honest, that are introspective, that share, vulnerable.
Yes, that's what they want. And we thought, at least when I began, what we thought was that we should get that laugh every 2 minutes. But they don't want the laugh as much as they want something real.
Mm-hmm.
Real, that they can say, yeah, that happens to me too.
So your comedy might be a little longer story form than when you started, when it was joke.
Yeah, when I started, and I still do more one-liners than most people do. I still do the, hello, I'm the bitch that takes your seat on the bus. Yeah. Because I still think you got to get them laughing.
How does your Americanness play in with the British crowds? Does that give you an advantage, disadvantage, irrelevant?
You know how in America we think an English accent is a sign of intelligence? I think they think an American accent is a sign of being loud and blustery, but they like it. I will have people say to me, I love your accent. And it's an interesting thing. I've been here now 7 years.
You said you do or you do not have people saying they love your accent?
I do. I have people saying, I love your accent. And I've been here 7 years and I have not lost it. I have not modified my speech at all.
You don't say whilst now instead of while?
No. And I don't say schedule, but I think that's Canadian. And I don't, and I say risotto, which they don't. They call it a different thing. Risotto, rice is what it is. But they call. I still speak American English. But also the British love eccentric old women. So I have a leg up no matter what I do. I don't have a leg up, because if I did that, I probably could. Yeah, can't do that anymore.
That's not part of the burlesque act.
Yeah, that's part of the burlesque act. Yeah, that's not the comedy. But I'm at a. You know why I'm an advantage? I'm an advantage because most people think you get to be 60, and then from then on your life diminishes slowly, but it diminishes. I'm showing them that I'm 87 and having a marvelous time. I dress like they do. I don't dress in those crazy print dresses and the orthopedic Oxfords. I'm having a good time. I'm drinking a drink with them, which, by the way, I can't hold very well, but I don't tell them that. I'm with them. They are my society, and I did get the vaccine here. The vaccine. I got the first vaccine, and it's given to people that are 80 and older.
Now, is it 2 doses?
You get 2 doses, but I just have had 1. But the thing is, when they give you the thing, you're in a clinic with everybody that's over 80. And it's the first time since I can remember that I've been with that many people that are my age and older. And my God, all I could think of is, my God, they're old.
You could wait to get out of there.
Pardon?
You could wait to get out of there.
Yeah, but it wasn't me. I mean, I looked at, gee, they can't walk. They can't move. And I believe, and I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but I believe a lot of aging happens here. And I don't have a partner to help me up and down the steps. If I want to get up and down the steps, I just better well do it myself. And I like that. I don't mind that. But I think that in my head, I do not consider myself helpless. I do not consider myself aging. I do not consider myself senile. Of course, I can't open a bottle, but who can? And it's like that. And I'll do that though. I'll be sitting there and I just take it for granted. I'll be sitting and someone will have me a bottle of water and I'll just hand it to the person next to me to open. I won't even think of asking. I'll just put it over there and they know. And yeah, she can't do it. You aging, if you ride the storm, is the most exciting thing because you lose all those concerns, all those, what will anyone think? Well, my age level, they don't think anyway, so you don't have to worry. Well, most of them can't. And you, what, this is inappropriate. And you think, no, for me, just my doing anything, it's a shock. I'm okay. And when you stop and think, my God, 3 years and I'll be 90.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe that. Why am I not in a wheelchair or something? And it's I don't want to be. And I will always have this where someone I'll say, where's the ladies' room? Because that's with me all the time. So, and they'll say, oh, it's down steps. I said, well, no, that's all right. No, it's down steps. And I'll never forget, I was at an Indian restaurant. I still remember. And I said, well, so where's the ladies' room? And the man said, oh, you can't go there. It's down the steps. And I said, well, you don't want me to go here? I said, you don't want me to do it here. And so I started to go down the steps. And I realized this man was going with me. And I thought, am I going to have to take him into the stall with me? Why? What is he doing? Why is he doing this? But they don't think I can do it. They don't think I can do it. The other thing that's interesting about this country is I was on a program called First Date. Believe that. I was on a program called First Date.
I saw a clip on that. Now that was, how old were you at the time?
I was 81 or 82.
And now is that show normally geared for, it's a dating show, is it normally for 20, 30 somethings?
Yes.
You were like special edition.
That's right. And they fixed me up with a man who was 5 years younger, who was an idiot. But that isn't the point. The point is, I still have people that say to me, I saw you on First Date. Because the big joke, which you've already heard, the big joke was, dating is really great when you're my age because you don't have to meet their parents. And people still quote that. But because Britain is such a small country, they all watch the same shows.
But that's good to have that one go-to joke, and people need that connector. So yeah.
And I think I told you this. I was on, just by accident, this woman said to me, I'd like to do a podcast for a woman's network called Frida, Freeda, Frida. And I don't know whether I told you this, but you want to know. So she did a little podcast of me, and she followed me around to a show. She put it up, and it's got 6.4 million hits.
You're viral. That's a good thing when you're viral on social media and not.
But I am. They're getting the money. You know, after you get a million, you get the money. But the point is, everybody knows who I am in this.
Well, if you go back now, you got to charge them an appearance fee. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not going to do it again. But they know who I am in this country.
I pay people for all the hits, all the people watching. So right now you've accumulated about 73 cents.
Keep it to pay for the Pomeranian.
Yeah, Pomeranian. I'm going to sneak in my bag, bring over there.
Yeah, a little hole so it can stick its little nose out. Yeah. Oh, but you have to come. I've been telling you, you have to come over, and I cannot find it, Mark. But there is a big constituents of Native American fans.
Okay. Yeah,
and
you're pretty big on Native American
about it, yeah. And I don't, but I can find it again. It was when I was in Edinburgh that I found out about it, but it's somewhere in this country. It's a big constituency. They love Native American.
I want to come to England, but I want to come to Vietnam and open for you. I've heard great things about Vietnam.
Oh, Dan will do it. Yeah, you want to do that? And then we can go to Cambodia.
Oh, man. Now, are you familiar with the comedian Jack Whitehall? Younger guy? He's
I know him. Yes, his father is a big deal.
His father was like Daniel Day-Lewis's manager and a couple of big British actors. But they have travels with my father, and we're just watching them. And he takes his dad with him on, Lads and Dads.
I did comedy with him at Top Secret.
Yeah, he's arena guy now. He did the O2, but they did a really sweet show, him and his dad, and we've been watching a lot of that. That's our new go-to.
I would love you to do. I'd love you to do a show about your life. You've had a wonderful experience with your mom and dad, and what's happened there, and you've got some wonderful things to talk about. But it wasn't necessarily funny. But it's important.
It has its moments. My mom's kind of in the Alzheimer's realm now, so the stuff she does.
Still there? Is she in Alzheimer's now?
Painful, but so funny at the same time. Just the stuff.
Yes.
I tried to train her to use these electric candles the other day, and it has a little remote. And so, Mom, here's the offers. On a hand her the remote. She goes, "Hello, who's this?"
She doesn't know. She's still alive, and she's in L.A., isn't she?
Yeah, they're both alive. They're 93 and 91, and they're in independent living.
That's what I am here. But my good friend that I'll tell you about when we chat wants me out of here because he says there are old people here, and I said, well, I know, but I'm older than all these people. But he says, I don't think it's good for you, and it's true that I'm the only person that leaves this building after 6. I don't know. Yeah. What they're doing. But if anything gets across in this podcast, it's that if you live your life, not bear your life, not just go along, but if you live your life, you make an effort to make that life count, it gets better and better and better. This lockdown has not been bad for me. This is when I published the book. This is when I've been doing more stuff online. I've started doing a YouTube thing regularly. I do a YouTube every Sunday. I do a YouTube thing. And then the last Sunday of the month, I do a FaceTime show, which is stories, comedy, and song. And I
didn't know you sang.
Well, I don't.
Give you a good shot, though. Okay. Well.
I really don't, but I sing.
Do you, are you a goal setter? You don't strike me as one to say, oh, I want to do this, but Good. That's why we relate so well. I'm terrible at saying, always visualize your goals. I'm like, I'm just visualizing up and doing as much stuff as I can that I enjoy.
Right. I try as much as I can today.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in my talent. I really believe that I'm funny, and I really believe that the rest of these bookers are all idiots.
Well, it's amazing too, because you know what you went through and your life. You've had challenges with abusive relationships and eating
That was bad. That was bad.
And that low self-esteem that pulled you down, and you know had you contemplating suicide and to see you thrive at your age, it's just awesome. I think it's such a great treat for us.
Because I said there are two, and you know, it's you either can cry or you can laugh. Something happens to you, you either cry or you laugh. And Jews are very good at. I'll never forget this Jewish boy that said to me, "I can't do comedy," and I said, "You had a Jewish mother, did you?" He said, "Yes." I said, "You can do comedy. We can do comedy. We can do it. We're funny. And especially a minority can always do it, because minorities, there's two ways to go with your minority. You have a chip on your shoulder and you say, yeah, it's because I'm this or because I'm that or because I'm whatever. Or you say, no, you're all fucking idiots. Why don't you open your eyes? I'm great. And that's pretty much been my thing. I'm great. And they're looking at me, no, where are you? You're so little, I can't even find you. It's no, I'm great. I'm great. And also to keep moving forward. One of the things that happened is that every setback I had, I never went back. In other words, when I failed, the only time I did go back was when I went from Stanford, when I went back to Toledo. That was a mistake. Everything else, when I got to Oklahoma City, I was fired, of course. When I was fired.
What were you doing in Oklahoma City?
I got my first job, my first journalism job. It took me, it was 12 years after I graduated. I finally got a journalism job, and it was an absolute nightmare. And instead of saying, okay, I'm going home, I didn't. I said, okay, I'm going to make something of it. So what I did is I got a fifth wheel trailer and a GMC truck. Yeah, you didn't know about this? And I traveled around Southwest United States for a year and a half.
Were you writing or just hanging out?
No, I was writing. I thought I was writing for Reader's Digest, which of course I wasn't. I mean, I was sending it into Reader's Digest. He was sending it back. But yes, I did it. I thought John Steinbeck's Travels with Charlie, he did this, but he was a best-selling author. And I thought, oh, I can do that. But the point is, instead of sitting in Oklahoma City, which was dead end, instead of going back to Toledo, which would have killed me, I thought, no, I've got to make something of my life. I'll do something new. So what I did was, but remember, no cell phones, nothing. I was alone with 2 dogs and a cat. And I was so little, I drove a GMC truck. And you've seen it.
You had to set up the trailer and
you had to hitch it. Yeah. You had to back it into the hitch. Yeah, I did that. And then the GMC truck was so big to haul this. It was 24 foot, the trailer. So it was so big that when I drove, you couldn't see me. Mm-hmm. So the hillbillies in Arkansas are looking, and it looks like this 24-foot rig is going down the highway with nobody driving, and the cat looking out the window. You know, the kind of, yeah. Whoa, yeah. And that's what I did. But then that's the other thing. I think we talked about fear a little. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not afraid of it, including the virus. I'm not afraid of anything because I did that trip. It was a year and a half of going. I went to Natchitoches, Louisiana. I went to Hot Springs. I went to Galveston. I went to Corpus Christi. Knew nobody, and no money. And I did all that with the 2 dogs and the cat. 2 cats I had. I had Sarah.
How did you survive without any money?
Yeah, I had a pension because I had been sick. So I was getting $300. Well, you would know how little this is. I was getting $375 a month. Do you realize how little that is? That does nothing. Mm. But people, I plugged into places I never had to pay rent. I plugged into the Baptist church. Every Thursday or Sunday or something, I would go and watch them dip people in the bathtub and
the full immersion baptism.
And now you have found God, and I thought, I always plugged in for nothing. And then when I got back to California, I got a job in a dating service. You know about that, don't you? Or maybe you didn't.
No.
I was selling sex. I was selling sex, but I didn't know it. It was before. It was before.
Like sugardaddy.com?
No, Playboy. It was these men would answer ads in something like Playboy and porn magazines, and it would say you can have a woman for $50. I thought I was fixing them up to get married. So it's really very funny because I thought the women knew what they were doing. The men were paying to get laid. That's what they were doing.
What was your job? You were the middleman?
Pardon?
What was your job on that?
I had a mix. I'd pair them up. It was a telephone thing. And I thought that I was fixing them up to live happily ever after. So the conversations didn't make any sense at all because this guy wants to meet the girl to sleep with her. And I'm thinking they're going to pair up and, a matching interests, which I mean, yeah. And it was really funny. So there's a guy that was a nudist. He was a nudist. He called me up and he said, I love women. And I thought, ooh, I've got lots of people for you because you have a card file. And then he said, yeah, he said, but I said, he said, I like all women. And I said, were you interested in concerts? Are you interested in plays? And he's thinking, what's she talking about? And he said, oh yeah, because then they don't know what to say. So he said, oh yeah, but I need to take them home after. And I said, oh, that's sweet. That's sweet. I'm thinking,
you like to drop them off at the house.
Why? And he said, well, he didn't know what to say. So he said, well, to give them coffee. I said, oh, that's so nice. And then he said, yeah, but I live in a nudist camp and they're going to have to take off all their clothes. And I'm thinking, these women, it wouldn't have made any difference. They knew what they were doing. But for me, I thought, oh, no, I'm not going to be able to do that.
That was your red flag moment there. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, God, no idea. I didn't know. I worked there for a year and a half and had no idea what I was selling. And all these conversations just simply didn't make sense. There was one, though, that is really so funny. The guy said, I said to him, is there anything you don't like in a woman? And you know me, if they made any kind of racist remark, they got a half-an-hour lecture on diversity. But this one, he says, is there anything you don't like? And the kid, he was a sailor from San Diego. He said, yeah. He said, I don't like S&M. So I said, well, if you don't want someone in San Mateo County, I'll get you someone in San
You don't like Spaniards and Mexicans? What?
Yeah, no, I didn't try that one either. I get someone in Santa Clara County.
San Mateo County. Oh.
But she didn't, and she was lovely. She didn't fire me. I had no idea what I was doing, but she didn't fire me. But it went bankrupt, I think, because there weren't enough women that were willing to give it for nothing. But that was what they were doing.
Wow.
And she said to me, no, it's okay. You give it for nothing the first time and you charge them double the second time. And I said, for what? I had no idea what was going on.
Well, we're up an hour. I want to talk a little bit about your book before we.
Oh yeah.
So that's a great milestone. Getting the last laugh.
That's right. Getting the last laugh. It's and that's an Irish dog. That's not my dog. That's an Irish dog.
You borrowed a prop dog?
No, I was in Dublin, and the family I stayed with have dogs, and the son took this picture, and we just decided no matter what I wrote, this is going to be the cover.
That cover is just such a great cover. Pull that up again. Move it over a little bit. Oh, and raise it up. I got to see the dog too.
That's Fuji.
Even the dog looks like he's having fun.
Oh, I was having the best time.
Did you do a bunch of shots, or was it pretty much as?
It was candid, but the minute I saw it, I said, "No, that's going to be the cover of my next book."
Oh man!
And it is, and that's what it is. But this book, I do a talk, Mark, called Optimistic Aging. I've done it several times for retirement groups. I've done it there's a thing here in Britain called the Women's Institute. These aren't retired women, but they're women of a certain age. And I do this optimistic aging because
you're young enough, they don't say how old they are. So when you say women,
I always do. But,
I mean, there's that for women below the bar.
you're absolutely right. These are the women that don't say how old they are. You're absolutely right. But what I'm telling them is they have a future. That's what that. So this book talks about my beginnings, which you really don't know all about it, but it's that wasn't nice. It was difficult. And my beginnings and how I use that as a springboard to just keep going this way instead of this way. And it's important for people to know. I mean, I will love it if you argue with me, but the truth is I have no special talent. I have no special ability. I made it all happen. I learned how. I learned how to paint. I learned how to write. I learned how to do comedy.
That's the ability. You know, it is. Yeah, and I would say I would almost agree with you. You don't have a special ability more than 99% of the people on the planet. You chose to activate that special ability. That's the challenge.
And I chose to put in the work. How many stand-up comics have you seen that just fall by the wayside? Because they just aren't willing to put in the work. But for me, it's not work. For me, it's a way of life. But I was like that for teaching too. I love teaching. I absolutely loved it. And I love journalism. But I can't explain it. All those things were ways to earn money until I did comedy. I earned more money in comedy than I ever did in anything. But it isn't a way to earn money. It's a way for me to live.
Yeah, I mean, I did some journalism in the day. I was in a master's program, and I always, there's a lot of satisfaction from writing a great article, but there's nothing like
there's nothing like that laugh.
When you get that, even if you haven't heard it yet, you just know this joke's going to work, and then when it does work, it's such validation. You don't know what the readers. You write an article on anything, you don't know what what their response is unless they write on social media or back in the old days do a letter to the editor. We didn't have that. That's why comedy is so addicting and intoxicating to people and
because it's instant response. But I think one of the good things about our doing it as long as we've done it is we can do a Zoom set and know that those jokes are going to work. We don't have to hear the laugh to know that that's going to work. They're going to laugh because they always do. And I also believe, and I don't know whether you agree with me on this, funny is funny. I don't like, there were several comedians that were writing about how you can't say anything anymore. You have to be so careful. And I say, funny is funny. You can make a joke about anything as long as it's not cruel, it's not hurtful to anybody but yourself. In other words, when I make jokes about being old, I'm talking about myself.
Yes.
If I would talk about the total fucking idiots that I've got in this building, they'd evict me. I talk about myself. I make fun of myself.
You're going to be leaving. You can just let it all out and it can roast the building.
Once I get out, when I'm going to do to this building, what I am going to do, because they're sitting here waiting to die, but I'm not. And I think, would you say this to me? Would you agree? It's persistence. It's persistence. You keep doing it. And if you love it and you keep doing it, it's going to work.
Absolutely. Something's going to come out, and it may not be what you expected. Like, look at you now, you're in England.
I never expected that.
In America, now you're famous in England and you have a solid career. It may have happened here, but it wasn't, for the stress and the grind. It wasn't something that you felt that you wanted to put yourself through, and you use that to your advantage.
Now, what happened is I was offered a job. I thought, well, listen, if I can earn money at 80, I'm certainly not earning it at comedy. If I can earn money at 80, I'm going to do it. And that's what happened. I came here and he hired me in April and fired me in December. And when he fired me, I thought, well, you're going to go back to San Francisco, or you're going to keep at what you started. And I made the decision to keep at what I started.
At 80, when most people are just trying to kind of downgrade and just settle, you're not settling. So it's amazing. Thank you.
No, but why should I? I mean, my big goal, and you ever since you've known me, is I'm going to live until I die. I'm just going to live. I'm not going to have 6 months of sitting and waiting. I'm going to keep going. And then on my 100th birthday, I have a show scheduled in Leicester, which is really funny. It's like, Mark, if I said I have a show scheduled in Petaluma. I've got a show scheduled in here. Leicester, it's the bottom of the barrel. I've got a show there when I'm 100.
So you already got the 2033 calendars.
That's right.
Awesome.
2033. And I'm going to do, we're expecting me to die. And the guy that's putting on the show, it's in his diary. He's got it in.
Will you die mid-joke, or were you like at the
No, not until I do my finale.
Which is standing up, and then they're stand up and you just drop.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna Tommy Tiernan did the same thing. Yeah, and then I'm just gonna die. So I said to the man that's scheduling the show, I said, well, who gets the money for the tickets?
Goes towards the funeral expenses,
Well, I thought, yeah, funeral expenses is what I was thinking. It might buy the plot and it might buy the stone, and he can have the rest. Oh, because it'll be a sellout.
Well, that will be quite a show. We look forward to the 100th birthday show. Thank you so much for jumping on here. It was
beautiful,
inspiring, entertaining. Yeah, it was just so many.
So good to see you. That was what's so beautiful. I love seeing you.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was great seeing you. And we're going to talk off screen. Let me wrap up the show. Everybody, please, I'm going to post LynnRuthMiller.net.
No, .com.
Are you sure? I have .net when I looked it up.
Yeah, .net is somebody pirated that. It's .com.
Okay, sorry about that. Then I've been watching pirated versions of what you're doing. So someone must be exploiting you for money on that, because
he is. I've been writing him and saying, stop it. But
this first, if you type her name in the search bar on your Facebook page, buy the book, support this amazing lady, and
I just picked up that one too. Yeah.
Hopefully the lessons you heard here, you can share those with the book. And we're fortunate to have, elders that are, and so many like her, that's so many ways younger than we are. So you keep doing what you're doing. And I'm looking forward to the gig in Hanoi.
You're going to go. You want Hanoi? You don't want London? I'll do Hanoi.
London too. Are you kidding me? Yeah. We'll do a world tour or whatever. I'm up.
Bangkok. I can do Bangkok.
Yeah.
All right, we can do it.
Yeah, we'll go to We'll go to
Germany. You want to do Berlin?
The Germans make me nervous. I don't think I go to
Germany. Well, as long as they don't hand me a bar of soap, I'm okay.
All right. That's been episode 17 of How Does That Happen? Lynn Ruth Miller, comedian, writer, friend extraordinaire. Thank you so much for joining. Everybody, you be safe. Happy New Year, and we'll see you next time on How Does That Happen?
How does that happen? Thank you.